then all of a sudden we were lucky enough to, with the Bolsheviks, even though Nikolai wasn't and never has been the greatest. He's a big, huge man. He was over, and Boris was one of the most underrated athletes I've ever known. Boris did all the work. If it wasn't for Boris, we wouldn't have gone through 6 to 9 months of working with the Bolsheviks. But they had the ability, like the sheep herders. You could beat them, and then they could put up their flag and get the heat and walk out with the same heat that they had. And so we had that ability with that flag. They had that ability, and they helped us a lot with and that, because they were Russian and we were more friendly down under, you know, and g'day mate and stuff. That helped us immensely. In fact, not enough credit goes to that actual matchup for that time. And both big guys, and as I said, thank goodness for Boris.
The gimmick was over, you know, the national anthem. Nikolai had that look.
Yeah.
You got to say, you know, Boris was the work, but Nikolai had that look, and the big guy, he was there with Vince when they first did rock and wrestling, you know. He was one of the original ones that got over with that, and that voice singing. You know, he didn't have to work. He just sang that thing, and massive guy. And then we even took them down to New Zealand. We drew the biggest crowds ever in New Zealand. We took Boris and Nikolai came down. We worked 3 shows in ballparks in New Zealand.
Biggest ever, in the New Zealand history.
Who are some of the other guys that you worked with?
Well, Barbarian and Haku were great.
Barbarian and Warlord.
Barbarian. Now they had Fuji to stir, and both of them were pretty macho type guys. Lovely guys by themselves, but a little bit macho. And we got real beat up by Warlord was learning, and he had never been wrestled much in the scene. And then Fuji, being the ribber who he was, one of the master ribbers of our business, would rib one against the other. So they were competing against each other while we were in the ring. We'd never had that since Matt Borne and Buzz Sawyer. Back when they were about 20, full of everything, packed inside and out. Every passage was packed. They were like two animals at 20, but they had the same competitive nature as the Barbarian and the Warlord. Like, you would go down the road with the Matt Borne and Buzz Sawyer after the matches and see them parked over the side, either in a fight or in a road race or something. You know, that's how bad it was.
They would slam us, you know, they would slam us in the ring. One of us slam us one in the middle of the ring, and then he'd go up and come off the corner. The other one would go straight away afterwards and slam you further away and go up the corner. You know what I mean? So you would only open your corner, and they'd be coming off the other corner to try and splash you. They're always out doing each other.
What was Buzz Sawyer like outside the ring? Crazy?
He was crazy, and then, you know...
Talented guy, though. Talented.
Very, very good. Warrior's a great job. You know, and as you know, he just got mixed up, and he got worse and worse, and he was one of the first guys I ever seen that, you know, if you went out to dinner with him, because we tried to help him a couple of times, that would actually had taken, so whatever, he would like go to face down on his food or something. I'd never seen anybody do that in my life. I was like, not only was I worried about himself, but I was also disgusted that he could let himself be seen like that. But that was just, you know, I mean, that was Buzz. He was crazy.
Go in the ring and do an hour match, as you see. Before, with a blonde-headed kid from the blonde-headed guy, Tommy Rich and him used to do hour-long matches.
Great athlete.
And Buzz would be still there, leapfrogging. You know, timing was great. He was an all-round athlete.
Excellent athlete. But just...
Afterwards, he just let it go. We were from an old school. We didn't know about all this other stuff and that, you know. You know, you go out there and do your thing, and then if you're in front of the public, you know, you had to look your part too, you know what I mean? Not be macho or anything like that.
But most of the guys are like that. You'll get that in any walks of life. It doesn't matter if you're secretaries or singers or wrestlers or football players or what. You'll always get always get a few buzzers, and you always get a few, you know, because that's what life's about. Everyone's got what a boring life it would be if we're all the same. Even Luke and I, we're different, thank goodness. Otherwise, we would never got on so well together for so many years. In fact, people would often come into where we stayed, and we always stayed together, you know, and they'd think we were the odd couple because, you know, one would be real neat, and I would have my stuff all over the place. And, I mean, we were the odd couple before the odd couple was there, mate.
Yeah. What were your memories of working with the Nasty Boys?
They were rough. When they first came in, we were very good friends of both of them. And they can work now, of course, at their style. And they're big and strong. And people don't realize how big they are. When have you ever stood next to the Knobs or Sags? Okay, Brian, they're big guys.
320, 330.
They're deceiving, actually. And when you stand next to them, they're big guys. And
when they touch on the shoulder,
boom! And they came straight from WCW, and they went there before they'd gone they were very green. Right. And then they came to WWF and worked with us for 6 months, very green, and I mean, very clumsy, because that's just how it takes time to do anything good, right?
Right.
But we had some good matches with them, and over the years we've had some great matches with them, and we've built a great friendship with both of them, and they're both great guys. But we had a lot of time after the Bolsheviks in the WWF. We really never had another really great smooth team. Except one I'm going to name him in a minute. No. Jock was very hard to do business with, especially if it was going to be on TV. It wanted to have to be all jock. Well, wait a minute. But we had one team who was excellent. Two of probably the greatest wrestlers that were. Tully Blanchard, didn't like him personally, but great. And Art Anderson. They were great. I mean, they were very good. But we didn't have a great deal of talent put with us actually throughout our whole Bushwhacker careers, believe it or not. I think Vince just let us go and let us do our thing and then let us get established, and then it was up to us to keep it there rather than Vince keep us there actually.
The other two blonde-headed guys too.
Beverly Brothers.
And that was the same as the Nasty Boys. They were good. They were put together. They only worked in the Nasty Boys. Yeah, the Nasty Boys came from the same era. They had been in Vern's territory when Vern's territory was finished. Right. It was still running, but there was no talent there. He just kept it running, and the guys on top, they were on top there. Dallas was their manager, Page.
Right.
You know what I mean? They were there on top. That was the talent, and the Beverleys weren't the Beverleys, but that was the talent there. And there was nothing. That's when it was falling to pieces. He had no one there. He had no senior guy there to help the guys. It was just green guys that worked for nothing, thrown in together.
Right.
Hence they come down.
And Wayne Bloom was a very strong guy. He didn't look it, but he was an ex-powerlifting guy. Good guy. He could work okay, but he wasn't used to a tag team situation at that level. And Mike Enos was just a kid, just a very young, pudgy kid who turned out to be a tremendous worker and athlete. I mean, now he's like to me, he's great. I mean, but we never really had a great tag teams to work with after that.
What was Hulk Hogan like in the locker room?
Excellent. When we first came to WWF, I could see there's always been an attitude with NWA and WCW. There always was like a pecking order. They were always like, and how Ric Flair used to always say, with the shoes and the watch. That's how it was like portrayed. Even Crockett portrayed it like that.
It's a shoot.
Crockett actually could like walk down in front of, walk by you and look you right like you are to me now and not say good day. Right, and then the next day he would say, oh, hi, how are you? But that was the attitude. Right. Whereas as soon as you went there, here was the top dog, Hulk Hogan. We had never really met him before. And Tampa was actually the first time at the Tampa Arena. And first thing he did, he came straight up to us, introduced himself, says, hi, I'm Terry, not Hulk. I'm Terry. How you? Great to have you guys. And that's the top dog by far there saying that. So then we knew straight away we were in a different environment here.
Right.
And if your top dog sets that example for everybody else follows suit. And that's how it was. There was a big difference in that.